Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Magic Arena, and today we're going to be just gonna do a little quick shift of this. Today I'm probably could have waited for the ban announcement to see if this would have mattered or not, but I decided this one was kind of long overdue. I I put this off near the last because I did have a few days. It was pretty much down to 1 day or two before the rotation when I had the time, so I figured out I just save it for this one. And it's actually a combination of War of the Spark Planeswalkers, Chandra and Jaya, and all the M20 Chandras. So this is basically Chandra. Well, it's not quite full on Chandra tribal. I remember a video on MTG Goldfish. They explored the Chandra tribal. It's literally lots and lots of Chandras. It's all about getting a Chandra down. I don't think that will quite work in this meta. So I didn't want to just load up with a lot of. Also, if you take note, 3 drops. This literally is the only cheap Chandra. Everything else is 4 drop, 4 drop, 6 drop. Even the one from the Planeswalker deck is also 6 drop. So we can't just rely on dropping 4 CMC Chandra, even if it's just on turn 3. Anyway, enough talk. Let's do a quick look as to what this. Okay, you know what? Let's take a look again. There you go. So this is the build I'm using. So I do have Let's go over the Chandras. First of all, definitely 4 copies of Chandra Acolyte of Flame. We do have 1 copy of Chandra Novice Pyromancer. I used to have 2 when I was trying to build it up with a lot of elementals, but over time, the number of elementals just kept dropping and dropping. Literally, the only elementals now are from Chandra Acolyte of Flame and Runaway Steamkin. And you don't play Runaway Steamkin. Well, you could do it for Beating Face, but it's more than just that. So only 1 copy. Still a decent burn. 2 copies of Chandra Fire Artisan. I noticed the big problems usually getting cards, so there's that. 1 copy of Jaya. Having the damage boost effect is quite interesting. Also helps us additional removal. That said, if I were to redo this without restrictions of having finishing all the Planeswalkers, probably just have a 2nd copy of Torbrand. And 1 copy of Chandra Awakened Inferno. Probably a 2nd one if I run into a control matchup. I could have put in the sideboard, but I didn't. That sometimes games will just end up on this one. Preferably, we can finish the game out well before this, but sometimes it's nice to have a single Chandra just to give us inevitability. Well, enough about Chandra. Let's take a look at the rest of the deck. 4 copies of Shock feels like a no-brainer, except now we're not exactly bolting Llanowar Elves. The best 1-drops we can the best 1-drops you can bolt are essentially like Fervent Champions, Scorch Spitters, Gilded Geese. Yeah, I guess that's a decent 1-drop to bolt. Knight of the Ebon Legion. That one's also a very good one to take out early if possible. And let's see, I'm trying to think of other good ones to take out early. Not so much. I guess you can take out some of the cards from Simic Flash with this, but Simic Flash not exactly showing the numbers now. That said, it's not just Shock. We also have Shock on the Body, Ember Hauler. Very good stuff. And to supplement that, a few copies of Goblin Crater Maker, only because there are some certain artifacts that we kind of want to take out. This one was a knee-jerk reflex against Lucky Clover. I saw a bunch of adventure decks early. But over time, there were some other decent targets to take out. Also, this is just target colorless non-land permanents, so if you need to take out an Ugin, it will take that out. It does a number on some gate decks. And the important part is, essentially, especially with Ember Hauler, since your opponent is running removal, you might... it's about trying to get 1 extra last hurrah out of it. Speaking of that, we have Bone Crusher Giant as even more removal. Also, 4-3 body is great. It's also basically the combination of this and these guys that made me not want to play the Cavalcade game. We have 3 copies of Chandra's Triumph. Out of the blue, this can snipe Teferi that +1. It's also good against some other it's also good against some decent big threats, so you can't just hide behind the X5 anymore. So I have 2 copies of Flame Sweep because we're still playing in a Field of the Dead meta. 2 copies of Light Up the Stage. I used to have more of this, but now not so much. It's more about trying to instead of trying to draw into more cards, it's about trying to make the best use out of what cards we have. 3 copies of Slaying Fire, always very good, so that gives us a burn plan of sorts. And that's basically it for the plan. Sideboard, we got a few copies of Red Cap Melee, though this one is a bit on the questionable end. We only have 1 5-drop and 1 6-drop, and we are running 21 lands, so it's not. So I guess it's not too big a stretch to sack 1 or 2. You got additional Chandra's Triumph. This one's a bit of a test. I haven't exactly tested this out. Additional Goblin Crater Maker. Additional Flame Sweep. Skewer the critics if I feel like I have to switch into a burn the opponent alive plan. I will switch to this. Museum Tank. Another way to leverage my additional non-creature spells. So there's that. I guess another alternative we can do, and there are many good alternatives now. Let's see. Trying to find that. Yeah, like if I see like some of the other decks I saw, they're running copies of Rimrock Knight because basically a decent buff spell and an additional creature to boot. It's a very great 1-2 punch. So this one's also a very decent fit. Experimental Frenzy. I guess I could sub the Electrostatic Field for that also, but I wanted to make everything cheaper at this point. Oh yeah, speaking of there's a few copies of Dwarven Mine just in case. I'm missing Castle Embret. I'm kind of holding back on that for now. It would be quite great. So, but otherwise, we are kind of missing quality to the face removal. But otherwise, this one is just true red beats plus burns sort of strategy. So we'll see how this goes. Had a few interesting matchups. Don't feel like I'm ready for traditional best of 3. But we'll just do a standard event for now. Let's see how this goes. My only comment about best of 3 is that it's very easy that other decks are much better at sideboarding against us than we are at sideboarding against them. We don't exactly have all the tools as mono red. If I were playing red plus, like say Rakdos red black, I guess we would have better options there. We'll give this one a shot. So this one's a decent start. At least we have some early plays. Although, yeah, we have some early plays at least, so I'll go with that. Now, watch me join this queue and run into X number of Field of the Dead decks. This does not necessarily mean Field of the Dead, but I'm not too convinced. Sticking a turn 2 creature is kind of important here. So, at this point, green-blue can essentially be... usually it's a Simic or bland... I almost said bland. I was about to talk about food, so bland would have been an interesting approach. So we'll see what the next card is. Usually if you see a Guildgate or a... Okay, so this one is still basically Simic. It's not about... It's not about that yet. So I'm also gonna just cast the Underholder first. Opponent cannot counter it at all, so opponents don't counter Fabled Passage. This isn't okay, so far it's green, blue, and nothing else. Well, I wasn't let's see. So we're trying to look out for what the third color is, if there is any. Okay, so far it's straight green, blue. Listen, Reef. I could just crack this now, or I could swing for the 4 damage and try to crack later. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna crack later. Wait, I have a shock. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna bolt it now. I don't have to crack any of these. So, 2 copies of this is not great. So I'm gonna hold this for now. There's no reason for me to cast this. I don't feel the need to cast Bone Crusher Giant right off the bat. As it is, all we've seen is Risen Reef. This could still be Simic Flash despite the existence of Risen Reef. It's a weird choice. I'm still expecting our opponent to play something big, like say a Wicked Wolf would be an interesting option. Oh no, this is Teamer. Okay, so let's see what the Omnath Locus of Royal, so snipe 1. Okay, so he's gonna ping us. So okay, put a +1. Okay, before things get out of hand. Yes, I have to do this in response because he can crack this. It will still be a 4/4, which is the good news. There. So Fabled Passage, we need to be careful of that. Definitely playing Chandra. We need to start going into more gas at this point.
No problem. Fire.
Okay, not bad. Not a terrible loss. Opponents now willingly dropping themselves to 8. I'm expecting 8 can do it. There should be a Hydrate Trace or some. Oh, they probably have a removal spell. I guess that will make sense. Obviously, they'll crack Ember Hauler because that's the one that hits face. Omnath Locus of Royal. Decide which one to do. I would crack that one too. Okay, Chandra Novice Pyromancer. First, let's crack this one. Maybe we might get
sit back and watch it burn.
Okay, this one's actually not great. Okay, let's swing with this one. Let's see how our opponent blocks. Okay, so we're gonna lose the Chandra. I don't see any way out of... Yeah, I don't see any way out of it. Because let's say I cast this shot. Let's say I cast this Chandra, I get back Shock. That does nothing. So this looks like a straight up Elemental's deck. Okay, not too bad. Unless our opponent can answer this Chandra, we might be able to pressure our opponent. Let's take these. We'll take 4. Let's take 4. So it goes up to 4. So at least it's 4 damage here, which is perfectly fine.
You will be a pile of ashes!
No. It doesn't do too much. Okay, sure. 2 tokens, so we can snipe the questing beast. Okay, let's plus Chandra.
Let's light it up.
Chandra Acolyte. Okay, again, we don't actually want this one. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a way we can take out before the food matters. No, there's no way to do that. Yeah, we're simply... Wait. Shadow Pressure.
Ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. Time for sparks to fly. This is just gonna be bad for you.
So that's the second Chandra we milled out. More importantly, our opponent has... We're threatening 2 damage here. We can't just play this one. We need to convince our opponent to take out counters here. We have a little inevitability from here. Take note, our opponent's at the virtual 7 life. Technically virtual 10 life. He can just make another token with the goose. We might have to snipe the goose first, depending on where our opponent drops. Also depending on how much mana our opponent taps out. Yes, we're all in the tank at this point. This is very close. Yeah, missing that land is a Hybrid Crisis, so he goes up to 7. He won't crack this, so he's not... Well, same life amount, still 7. Still 7. Can crack it. If he cracks that for 1 just to produce another Gilded Goose, still 7. Chandra's Regulator. This one's interesting. Because I can take this down to bring it down to 3. Actually, I want to exile. This was just a land.
Oh, it's you burning.
So, because I can play Regulate. This is interesting because I can play Regulator, snipe. I can also just play Giant. Let's play the Regulator. I could also just snipe these 2 actually. But yeah, let's pay. So what would I snipe? Yeah, probably the goose at this point. Actually, I should have played the goose. This was a mistake.
I call my fists Pyromaster and Firebrand.
Okay, so we'll pass the turn here. If our opponent tries to take out this Chandra, we're definitely not going to... We're not going to pitch this one. If our opponent keeps this one alive, we will pitch to draw another card. Vocal Thief of Crowns. Okay, so...
I'm certain you're quite charmed to meet me.
If he makes a 3/3 out of that, I'm perfectly fine. Yeah, actually at this point, we kind of let this game get out of hand. I guess sniping... Oh, okay. Yeah,
Surely
I'm
you
okay
see the
with that.
humor here.
Gonna snipe this Chandra. That's fine, I suppose. He can expand this to be a 3/5. Okay. The Chandra's Regulator right now does nothing. He might actually go for the Fire Artifact. Oh no, he's going for the Novice Pyromancer. Quite fine with. We are 1 mana shy if we draw Awaken, the Awakened Inferno. So probably will crack this food to. Oh, actually, it's a combination of make food, crack food. Okay. Definitely +1. There's no reason to not +1.
It's just gonna be bad
Slaying
for you.
Fire. That gives us something, so definitely playing the Coast LLC first. So we just need to try to preserve enough burn. Okay. This is probably a big stretch because our opponent has the engine to make food. Yeah, but unfortunately the closest we take us down to this one. So he's gonna crack that now. Gonna make another food token. Our Our opponent probably might downgrade the Bone Crusher Giant. In that case, we're fine. Oh, I forgot. I forgot we don't. Okay, making mistake after mistake. We're definitely gonna lose this one. Going for the face, not the face. Yeah, we should have just gone for the face. We made a mistake there. So, is played out. Fortunately, so are we. We don't exactly have anything.
No problem. Fire
Runaway Steam can... doesn't do much. Actually, I think this is it. Yeah, we kind of let this game go away. This is really our fault. Yep, all it takes is one mistake, and I'm gonna just concede right now. But let's save time. There's no reason to keep this one going further. I guess I lost the game when I did not go for the geese because that was one source. Sure, there was an Oko, but we could have done something. We could have still done something about that. There are many things we could have done. We had most of the tools, so to speak. We just let it go. So not a good start. Not an auspicious start, I'd say. Okay, so this is a much better start. So we can hold up Shock, we can Ember Hauler, or Bone Crusher if we need to. I'm probably just Ember Hauler. I might in fact, I'm probably just gonna play the Dwarven Mine right now. Okay, Grim Initiate, so... that's a good reason. So we will play Ember Hauler first. Let's force our opponent to have the removal spell. At least it will absorb a shock, so why not? Oh, Ginger. Oh, so this is a Cavalcade deck. Okay, opponent can go for it. I could just play Chandra right now. Actually, I'm gonna hold. Do I want to attack? Okay, I'll attack. I'm suspecting Rimrock Knight. That's the other possibility. Okay. Definitely shocking. Grim Initiate because that's the one with the bigger ceiling. Not bad, we took out 2 for the price of one card so far. Cavalcade, sure. Snipe this one. Because we can just... because it gives us options. And the option I really want is... Bone Crusher Giant. Basically, let's start putting pressure. And we get to hold up either Shock or even spike the Ember Hauler. Yeah, that was fast. Yeah. I'm really down on Cavalcade right now. I'm not very happy with how it plays. It feels very, very all-in. So we got one quick win despite that very slow loss. So not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. Let's see what else we got. Double Shock, Crater Maker, light up the stage. Okay, so I'm definitely keeping this hand. It's just a question of what exactly our opponent has. So, okay, Regulator gives us some choices. If I feel like we need to draw lands, I might actually just Shock Light Stage. yeah, that's... I need to draw land, so we're going to shop. Hopefully we get to dig more lands. Okay, we move forward. We got lands in the Bone Crusher Giant, so we have two ways to play this. Depends on what our opponent's got. Definitely gonna hold... We're gonna try to hold on to Chandra for as late as possible. In fact, her... Okay, opponent's playing Grixis. Auto Erasure, we will probably lose either a Chandra or the Regulator. I'm probably just gonna spike the Bone Crusher Giant, force a Bedevil out. Okay, we lose the Regulator, so... too bad. So definitely play the Bone Crusher Giant. Yeah, let's force some bodies. At least we don't have to deal with Nicol Bolas the Ravager, and our opponent is playing regular Evolving Wild, so... No, this is still not Bedevil. It's still the big removal mana, so... Yeah, oh, it is Bedevil. I could just Shock Light up the stage again. Let's put the Chandra. Let's start forcing our opponent to respond to us.
No. Too bad. Oh, they're so cute.
And next turn, if we can keep an elemental up. Okay, Fires of Invention. Yeah, this is Grixis Fires. This... Bedevil, take that out. Sure, that's
Time to
fine.
sleep for a week.
Let's do Chandra number 2.
Not to brag, but I'm totally the best part of them. Oh, they're so cute.
Okay, so let's spike any of our readers. Mountain, Dwarven Mine, perfect. So we'll at least get the 1-1 out of it, and we did take out the land. No, my only concern is... Well, it did nothing. Okay. I'm gonna go with Crater Maker. Make 2 1/1s.
Say hi to my fiery friends.
I'm thinking our opponent is just stuck on mana, so that's not... He's, well, not technically stuck on lands. He just needs one more land. So, okay, so far that missed. That's enough. Opponent knows we have another shock, and I would have just Chandra'd for light up the stage at that point. So, doing quite well. Well, we have to thank our opponent for not drawing their 5th land. I'm suspecting the Grixis build would... You know, the top end is definitely Liliana. I'm expecting some combination of... Narset and Sarkhan. That's my guess. Or what's the other big spells that the Grixis build would have? Either that or an actual 5-color build. Okay, so we at least got turn 2 into a turn 3 play. Regulator is not something you want to play early. That's why I didn't have all 4 copies of this. So I'm definitely playing Ember Hauler first, unless my opponent gives us something to remove. Once upon a time, incoming. Oh no, Liliana's Triumph. I think that's fine too, actually. Let's sacrifice a creature. Now let's see what our opponents are doing. Now, Oathsworn Knight is very weird, so... Yeah. I can play Chandra. But, Slaying Fire will only take out one counter, so this is very annoying. So I'm actually gonna just play Chandra.
It's better than having a plan. Basically, anything.
Because if we swing, our opponent doesn't block, he can kill Chandra in one hit.
Can't believe Mother Ludi gave us homework.
So we're just gonna force our opponent to remove it. Savvy Hunter. Okay, we have a way to remove that. Yep, as predicted.
Throw another punch, and you're gonna get burned. Hey, these little guys are great!
Let's see if our opponent chooses to block. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay, blocks, makes a full token. Wait. Let's resolve that. Let's make sure the damage resolves first. So we got him down to 2. We just need to get this guy down to 2 counters, then Bone Crusher Giant can answer it. Definitely. So we'll lose Chandra at this point. It's a good thing. If our opponent, I'm hoping our opponent plays some smaller stuff. Only because of the second flame feat.
Training is so hard.
I'm more concerned about what our opponent has next. If it's another Oathsworn Knight, I'm gonna really cry. Look, Blood for Bones. Ooh, so he's probably gonna get. He's gonna get. Oh, he went for. Then he's gonna recast this one. Okay. Interesting. So given our opponent is going that much, I'm actually gonna just take time to draw cards.
Let's light it up.
So we actually need 1 more mana, so damage can't be prevented this turn. Actually, with 1 more mana, we can take out the Oathsworn Knight for good. The trick is we Bone Crusher Giant first, then we Flame Sweep. Not very... First, let's see if we can get other options. Just a land, so...
Oh, it's you,
Bone Crusher
burning.
Giant. Concerned he might have a pump spell. That would be so weird, but it's possible. Yeah, so just having this one effect does wonders. That said, we are going to be facing down a huge swath of food tokens too. We're looking on a huge swath of food tokens, so we will have to do. Yeah, we'll probably want to do Slaying Fire on this one, and we can actually do Chandra's Regulator to boot. We can hold on to this. That way we can get 2 cards off.
Hey, watch it.
Okay. Note that we'll only get 1 counter regardless. I think our opponent might Blood for Bones again. That's gonna be so annoying. It does delay the tick up of this. Nope, just drawing cards, so I'm actually okay with that. Sort of. Until our opponent drops a not easily
This isn't your average zombie horde.
So we got the
Mindless
Torbrand,
minion.
but not the juice to go with.
Sit back and watch it burn.
So I'm actually gonna just play the Torbrand now. Then hold back Torbrand for later. Also, our opponent might be slightly disincentivized to use the -2 because, well, they'll draw 2 cards, but murder. Okay, fine. We get to deal 2 damage that way. Our opponent might take out Chandra. If they do go for it, it's perfect because that means I can snipe Liliana. And our
I
opponent
hope
did
you
not
wash
activate
your
first.
hands first.
So at least we get to take out the Liliana. Parting. We get to take a parting shot. Next turn we can then do Torban and Chandra's
I am
regulator.
exhausted.
Or I can do Torban. Steamkin. Let's do the Steamkin first. The Torbrand. Then we can do the regulator next turn. So at least the Steamkin can trade with Savvy Hunter to end this madness. Let's assume that Torbrand gets murdered. That would be the sad part. Opponent's now cracking through to buff their life total. I probably would have cracked to draw cards. I guess this is fine too. Probably means our opponent already has the murder. Or has some way of
Happy as a hellion to start
If
some
I were you,
fires.
I'd
Oh,
just
this is
surrender
interesting.
right now.
Command the Dread Horde. That's so our opponent's gonna make the two
Go get 'em,
elementals.
buddies.
Gonna tick down first.
A
So
little
we
death
lose
never hurt
we
anyone.
lose our good stuff here. Against the elementals. They draw 2 cards in the process.
They were a lousy service.
Yeah,
Waste not,
we let
want
this
not.
go on for too long. That's kind of a problem here. So now we only have a regulator to our name. Yeah, in sideboard, definitely the certain cards would be coming in. So there's a regulator. Definitely gonna strike Liliana immediately. There's no point letting our opponent tick her up. That said, we're still gonna die to these guys, but unless she wants to Dread Horde again. Actually, if she Dread Hordes,
Army
yeah,
has
the
been
food's actually a good
destroyed.
combo. I would not be surprised if our opponent also had Bolas the Citadel. So this would be a good argument for having not just the Slaying Fire, but also the Skewer the Critics. I only subbed that out.
Witness the ties that bind us all.
Into a Shifting Ceratops. So this one is just green-black mid-range. Actually, yeah, the Ultra Knight is the most annoying part of the mid-range. I'll give it that. That's actually a very good way to build it. Instead of relying on trying to hit your 4-drops, you can just have very good 3-drops like
Harness
these guys.
the elements.
So let's just tap out, say good game. Shame our opponent didn't leave up green man. Okay, now 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, that's perfect. So, not doing so great. We are having problems with the longer game. Glad to see our Chandra work against us, among other things. So, not quite there. Not quite there yet. 2 wins, 2 losses. Again, there are some choices that are a bit on the strange end. I know some people would just prefer to have the Fervent Champions. I just don't have those yet. Again, this is very promising, so I'll keep this. Chandra's Triumph at least takes care of especially if I can get Chandra out and take out the really big creatures. So I'm gonna start with Crater Maker for now because if our opponent decides to remove this with Disfigure or something, this one's the more.
Not to brag, but I'm totally the best pyromancer. Say hi to my fiery friends.
Okay, so far it's blue-black. I wouldn't be surprised if they select
Burnt
Chandra
out.
now. I'm actually gonna play a regular Emperor because I'm suspecting something like Cry of the Carnarium or whatnot. I kind of predicted it that much. So yeah, at least we managed to get an extra hit on that. Really could use Grixis again. Just Grixis. It's always Grixis. Okay, we'll play the Runaway Steamkin first. Really could use one more mana, but at least we got options. There's a convention. One's gonna try to play a 5-drop. Enter the God Eternal, so... yeah, we're... so the actual plan now might just be to... punt, I guess? Okay, yeah. So we're just holding up the Chandra's Triumph in the event our opponent plays our Murderous Rider. Most likely they got something bigger though. This is probably Liliana. Tyrant Scorn, okay, we'll let that pass. Let's see. Liliana's Dread Horde.
I am the master here.
Okay, so we get to play Chandra's trying to keep her down. Probably, yeah, probably not gonna win this.
Rise
this
and
matchup.
shine.
Yeah, Runaway Steamkin is probably the reason character. This is one of the guys I usually sub out. Opponent probably should just crack the Fabled Passage. There's no reason to leave it up. Sure. And if our opponent doesn't like what they see, actually no, you kind of want to tin the deck first before you scry. Reason being is you just put 2 cards in the bottom. If you then crack Fabled Passage, we'll take the damage. Our opponent's probably gonna make a zombie. Play Murderous Rider if he doesn't have anything better.
Right.
There. This is a Zombie Knight. Yeah, this is a Zombie Knight. And we're gonna give our opponent a Thought Erasure. Yeah, I did. I kind of expect that. Not gonna be able to take out Liliana. Okay, Slaying Fire. I probably should be just aiming here. Doesn't look like our opponent has a way to gain life anyway, but at this point, either card will do it.
There are so many mysteries to uncover.
Yeah, no reason not to crack the... There's no reason not to crack this unless like for some strange reason you know what's the rest of your deck. You definitely don't. Okay. And that's kind of game at this point. But, so kind of late, we allowed... So kind of late, so that first matchup, we managed to buy some time. This time we did not buy enough time. So there you go. So not a great finish for this, but we'll do one more match. But we'll do one more game. Just we'll do one extra bonus. So this one is with the sideboard, so again, test some things out. At least this way we'll figure out which cards are more probably should be in the main. I'm already suspecting that Runaway Steamkin, it worked well in that one map. It works well if you're winning, but I feel like you kind of want other cards instead. Chandra's Triumph, it feels a bit like a compromise. Slaying Fire kind of does the same job, just 1 point less. It's just that, well, for starters, I'm going to have to mull this one. Okay, this is better. We're probably gonna bin Tor. I was gonna say bin Torbrand, but I drew Chandra. I could also bin the Flame Sweep, but let's bin the Torbrand for now. So far so good-ish. Okay, so far it's just straight green-black. Green-black is probably the one matchup I am kind of looking forward to. At least the deck I'm kind of looking forward to playing. I'm not too sure on how to build it, so right now it's just I'm playing actually a mono green build for I'm playing mono green when I do try to rise up the ranks. At the least I'll hit gold. Not too sure which one will hit platinum. Paradise Gold, so our opponent is kind of stuck. Funny enough, this is okay. So we are not flame sweeping. Opponent's willing to bin that. So yeah, we'll let him have it. It's one less mana at least. Yeah, we're really hurting from not having a lot of these 4 mana planeswalkers. There could have been a counter spell there. That would have been it would have been really embarrassing if that happened. Crashing Brontodon. I guess I could slay that. Okay. Play the Bone Crusher Giant. This is probably a concession to... Yeah, I had... Rusting Beast. Okay, so at least we can block that. That's the good news. If he doesn't, I'm just going to Slay Fire. That is one reason to have Bone Crusher Giant. 4-3, still good. If I had one more mana, it would have been Flame Sweep plus Shock. As it is, it's Goblin Crater Maker to buy some time. Basically, this will block Crashing Brontodon and ping the token. We're kind of suffering from the lack. And this Sultai build is definitely food. So between Questing Beast, I'm expecting Rankle, I'm expecting Oko. It's a bit weird to see the Dreadhorde Invasion. It has 6 mana right now, so at least it's not Feasting Trophy. Now this will be very embarrassing if it turns out our opponent has a color that has Ugin or some other artifact monstrosity. I have to go for it. Basically, it's until proven otherwise. Also, our opponent not playing anything even with... At least we can slay. Slay that. Really need mana now, guys. see a very good trick he can do with Oko is, yes, he's gonna convert this into an L, so this is no longer an army. Dreadhorde Invasion just keeps making tokens. This is actually brilliant and very scary. With us stuck on tree lands for a long time, I don't think we're gonna get out of this. Yeah, this is definitely the field deck. So Flame Sweep's probably coming out. Okay, there's our 4th land. But what do we play now that we know we're staring down the barrel of a lot of 4/4s? Okay, I'm just gonna continue this one. Oko is very hard for us in the matchup. Well, Field of the Dead is hard if we stumble. So that said, now that we know what we're up against, let's bring in all the burn. So I'm gonna ditch the Steamkins, keeping the Ember Haulers, keeping the Crater Maker. Let's put in the Mizium tanks. So we need to cut 4 more cards. Jaya, Chandra, so we can keep the costs relatively low. Novice Pyromancer also goes. Actually, I kind of want to keep her. I want to cut the Flame Sweeps, actually. Yes, because by the time our opponent gets that combo set up, Flame Sweeps don't do much. I kind of just showed the Flame Sweep, but I'm... without actually showing that we already cut it out, but it's not too convinced. Also, our opponent's probably bumping up a lot more life gain than this. So, probably gonna be putting in cards like Arboreal, well, not Arboreal Greaser. Wicked Wolf would be a very good pick here. It's green, black, blue, so... yeah, definitely a lot of interesting choices he can add up to. But that said, what are the cards that I would consider must-haves if you're gonna build a similar style of this deck? Right now, it's definitely Chandra Acolyte. You'll keep getting damage in that way. Okay, definitely keep it. You might. Some decks are already running 4 copies of Torbrand. If you do that, you want a lot more creatures. You might want to even start playing a lot of the 1-drops. Fervent Knight sounds like a good option. You might want to consider a lot of the other knights, I guess. Yeah, so it's going to be the Fervent Knight, Rimrock Knight package if you do that. Do I just spike the shock now? No, we'll pass because if we have to, because if we want to, we can just spike the shock and skewer next turn. Or we can just wait to draw an Ember Hauler. So now what happens is if our opponent can't generate blockers, we can start spiking with Ember Hauler. We can clear the way slightly. We do need more mana. We're running 21 lands, and that was a bit of a stretch, but back in the old days. But we don't have Wizard's Lightning anymore, so we're going to lose Skewer or Shock. Most likely Skewer. He can't take Bone Crusher Giant because it's still a creature. Yeah, I'd say the Skewer's gone. And am I sad for its loss? Yes, we kind of have to hit in a hurry. I'm going to... I'm actually going to play the Regulator now. It's no great loss if our opponent decides to put a Swift End to Ember Hauler. My concern is Rankle level or kill. He's got something. Not Oko. No, it doesn't have the mana for that. If you're actually thinking of yeah, I'm okay if you cast a Swift and an Ember Hauler. It's a bit of a shame, but in a way you do take the 2 damage if you do that, so I'm okay with that. So we can actually just hold on to this for the time being. Let's go past the turn. It's really a question of what we're gonna snipe out of this. Opponent's gonna Fable pass it. Yeah, it's gonna crack this for an island. If he goes for Oko, he can buff this into a 6/6. So we'll have to respond by sniping this. Protection from multicolored is not exactly the way to go. Okay, there's the Oko's prediction.
Every tale about me is absolute
He's creating a food
nonsense.
token, so we can activate him.
One bite, and all your cares.
If he swings,
are
we'll take
gone.
it. No, he's not gonna swing, so he got Sling Fire, but
You're blind to your folly. So it's a game you're interested in. I grace you with my
we'll
lack
probably
of
we'll
presence.
probably ditch Torbrand to Chandra's Regulator. So having to spend all those resources in Oko, it's worth it for our opponent. Is it worth it for us? Remains to be seen. Voracious Hydra, so this is gonna come in as 6/7. Do I skip Torbrand? It's a Race of Swords. So unfortunately we need the land. I'm gonna have to print Torbrand. Okay, let's hope we get some. No, we didn't get something better, so yeah, we were better off just bidding Torbrand. So I'm gonna just I'm gonna start binning this until I can draw into something better. Let's do Beast. So we'll get Voracious Hydra is something I probably should consider for my own build. Then again, I am just running Wicked Wolf. Yeah, I'm running Wicked Wolf because I have enough. Yep, we're not gonna catch up at this point. Heck, what I can do is I can just play Ember Caller, but this has trample, so it does nothing. For this to work, I would need to draw into a Chandra and still have the mana to cast it. So no bueno. So it will take another 6. And see what other monstrosity our opponent has. Hydra Tribal is good.
Shear the wool from your eyes and
Create a
spin
food
you
token,
clarity.
because why not?
It's
As you
not
can see,
poison.
we're spending too much
Trust
time on these guys. Okay, let's just... Yeah, so right now, Mono Red's worst enemy is having to burn through all the planeswalkers.
Why do you
I
cross?
suppose Sorcerer Spyglass would be a... Okay. We got something. So we can take out 16. Well, it's not quite 16. Our opponent is virtually at 20.
I see you don't share my vision.
Yeah, yeah, letting our opponent hit a voracious headless. Simply nuts. Sling Fire's not enough. We need another burn spell just to attack at all times. Opponent has weakened the ineffable. Probably just plus ones.
In a vast multiverse, truth lies beyond vision.
Yeah, this is just simply big stuff. Actually reminds me, I might want to consider Ugin in my sideboard for my mono green build.
Curious tactic.
Anyone need a fire started? No? Too bad.
Yeah, it's just a game, but I did get to take out.
Hey,
I did get to
these
take
little
out three
guys are
planeswalkers.
great.
So there you go. So still, ironically, I did not run into a Field of the Dead deck at this point. I kind of would have expected one, but I guess it's possible we might not have to worry too much about Field of the Dead. There are so many other decks I'm more worried about at this point. Well, anyway, so that is how the deck is. Again, there are so many possible changes I kind of want to make here. I guess in principle, we probably want to add a lot more earlier creatures. We cannot be playing the control game with Chandra's Triumph. This one's probably good on the side, so I definitely want more creatures. The goblins are fine. The Steamkin, not so much. Actually, Steamkin could be fine if I were to be playing with an Experimental Frenzy build. Definitely Fervent Champion is up there. Having the extra first strike, yeah, I guess that's the better list at this point. So I'll link this list. I'll also link the list that you probably should be running instead. But anyway, that's my exploration of all the planeswalkers so far. Now I'm gonna be playing a little bit more limited until then, but that's it for this episode, the Magic Arena Run. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on notifications and whatnot. And I would say please do check out my other content, but right now I am really kind of busy. It's kind of a strange moment I'm in right now. But I'll be cranking these out whenever I can, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, everyone, and God bless.